Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be going over a guide to farming the best items in Diablo 3. We're going to be talking about the primals, the ancients, as well as any of the legendary drops. And pretty much it comes down to exactly what you're seeing in the background for gameplay, which is pretty much doing rifts and greater rifts. However, there are some items that will only be able to be dropped on very certain gameplay mechanics. There are technically also things in the game that are kind of Easter egg items, like for example Spectrum or the Heraldric Hamburger, and even things like the Wirts Leg. Even though these are very rare and like kind of like timed events or special event items, they don't really do anything. So the video is mainly going to be focusing on how to farm all of the legendary items that actually matter in the game as far as like build guides, because I make build guides all the time. People wonder, how do you get this one very specific legendary item? Do I have to farm a very specific boss? As in some action RPGs or even in Diablo 2, certain bosses had a very high chance to drop a very specific legendary, or they might be the only one to be dropping that said item. So pretty much what you're seeing in the background here for gameplay is exactly what you want to be doing. You're going to go to the Nephilim Obelisk and do rifts and greater rifts. This is going to be the way that you're going to be able to get your legendaries as quickly as possible, with the exception of a few things that you might need that won't be in here, and I'll get into that in a minute. So first off, what you want to try to do is do the highest difficulty of the rifts and greater rifts. You want to get to doing these as quickly as possible. Remember, the higher that you go in the greater rift, it will be a little bit more difficult. Same thing with the torment difficulty. You want to try to farm at least at torment 1, as in loot 2.0 they made it so that's where all these set items will be dropping, with the exception of getting the plans for very specific set items that you will have to go to the blacksmith and create. But this is also something that I'll mention really quick. In order to get to the rifts and greater rifts, you will have to go ahead and complete the campaign. If you haven't completed the campaign, all you gotta do is from the main menu go ahead and select the campaign and complete it. If you do want a full walkthrough guide on how to complete the campaign, that will be also linked down below. It's pretty easy, but this is what you need to do before adventure mode. Adventure mode is where you're going to be able to access the rifts and the greater rifts. In order to do that, you gotta do the campaign. It's pretty easy. I'll link this video down below, but I did a full playthrough of the entire, well, this is where like it's the Eternal Collection, which is including Reaper of Souls, the expansion pack, as well as with the Necromancer. We did a full playthrough, and if you guys want a full walkthrough for the campaign, that will be pinned down below. Most of you guys probably that are watching this have already completed the campaign. All you have to do is complete it once. It doesn't matter if there's a new season, you don't have to do the campaign again. Another very important thing to getting your legendary items is actually crafting, which will require you to get something called the Kanais Cube, which I will have a video again down below. And I know this video is going to have a lot of, if you need this mechanic, watch this video, because sometimes people already know about these things and they're like, I don't need to know this, I just need to know a very specific thing, and I get it. But even though this video is technically, it was created during season 19, the Kanais Cube location has not moved, but that is a very important thing because you're going to be using it to actually craft some of the legendaries in the game. Another thing that is really important that I got to mention is the Kanais Cube ability to extract powers. You want to be doing this to actually get the legendary powers without even equipping the item, because for some builds I get this asked all the time, hey, how do you have the 6-piece set of this in effect, but I see you only have 5, you're using a hack. There's something called the Kanais Cube that you can actually get the legendary power without actually having it equipped. One really important ring is the Ring of Royal Grandeur. Now this item cannot be dropped, and you can't just farm it by just doing rifts and greater rifts. You actually have to do these things called bounties to actually obtain it, which you just go in the menu, and when you select adventure mode, go as high as you can in the torment difficulty. If you can't reach certain torment difficulties, you'll have to do solo greater rifts and in order to be able to access this. And all you have to do is select bounties, and what you're going to do for these bounties is you just go in. Pretty much most people will just take 1 act each. The bounty will range from everything by going and clicking on a cursed shrine to clicking on a event and something will happen, or it'll just be like kill 50 or 75 enemies, and then there'll be like another like elite to kill. It's pretty easy. After you finish that, you'll get this heraldic chest, and you open it up and you have a chance to get depending on which act you do, you have a chance on getting a specific thing. By the way, we'll mix up the gameplay in the background. We'll go ahead and move it around so it's not always just the DH here. But if you do need a guide for leveling, I will also link this down below, as this is kind of important because it is part of farming, as some items simply won't even be there until you hit a certain level. Basically, you won't be getting like a 6-piece, like an actual 6-piece set starting at level 1. You'll have to reach max level, which in our case right now it is 70. Another thing that's very important when the season just starts is to complete the seasonal journey. This will unlock a 6-piece set, which pretty much will let you easily do like up to Torment 6 in most cases if you get just one multiplier for that said set. Like for example, this is like Whirlwind. If you get like some items that would be like bonus to Whirlwind damage, or well, in this case it's like Ren Whirlwind, but you'll get like a belt or something that will increase your damage by a lot. You're actually going to be wanting to do your seasonal journey to acquire some of your pieces of gear, and this will kit you out with a full 6-piece of set gear. Sometimes it can be more depending on the class that you play, but you want to also whatever piece that you're missing, you can gamble with blood shards. You can do these weekly challenge rifts, which can actually be really good for your ability to not only grant yourself blood shards but crafting materials, and these are just in the main menu as well. And it'll just be like a 5-minute little like rift that you'll have to complete, and if you complete it within a certain time frame, you'll get your rewards. It's actually pretty easy most of the time, but use Kadala specifically for the blood shards of getting some of the stuff that costs 25. I recommend you guys, this is another way to get some of the best items in the game, and you want to make sure you try to do a GR 70 before you start spending your blood shards, especially if you have the capability of doing it, because otherwise you don't have the chance of getting those primals, and that's actually very important in the game as well. But yeah, using Kadala is great, as well as using the Hope of Cain. So another way to farm legendaries is actually crafting them with the Hope of Cain recipe, and you'll also be getting these Death's Breath while you kill elites in the game as a chance to drop. The higher that you go in the Torment difficulty, the more Death's Breath that you will get from the elites that you eliminate. But this is actually pretty important as well, so you can actually just put in whatever item you need. So if you need like a legendary sword, and this is one thing I gotta go ahead and show off really quick. So this website over here is D3 Planner, and I will link it down below because you guys are gonna want this. So let's say I wanted a 2-handed bow. For Demon Hunter, if I was to use that Hope of Cain and try to craft it, these are, by the way, all the levels at which I need to reach. And keep in mind, if I want a very specific item, like if I really wanted this for whatever reason, I would have a higher chance at getting it at once we are level like 11. Technically, anything under 16 it can just roll, but if you want a very specific thing, you might need to reach a certain threshold. But like, if I wanted to make a Yang's Recurve, right, I wanted to craft this legendary item, I could just throw in a bow, make sure it's max level, and then you just go ahead and use the Hope of Cain, and you can maybe get this. You can maybe get any one of these though, but depending on your level, make sure you guys use this website. It's a really great tool. Or if you're just starting out, you can actually craft a weapon and put it inside of the Kanais Cube. This is very popular to level up really fast for like a season. Like for example, if you're playing Demon Hunter, you'd make a Carly's Point or a Green Lodestone Fan. Either one that you craft, you won't be able to equip it because it will be a level 70 item. However, you can go ahead and throw in the Kanais Cube and you will get that legendary bonus of that percent extra damage. Usually that's what you're going to craft. Sometimes it's not always on the weapon, but I recommend using that Hope of Cain recipe specifically for weapons. The reason why is because when you are trying to craft a weapon, it will be more efficient to craft a weapon because a lot of times with the Kadala, with the blood shards, it will cost triple the amount. It'll cost like 75 to get a weapon, whereas it would be different from, let's say, doing it on a like a offhand or like a chest piece. It'll just be more efficient basically because it costs a lot less. But we'll mix up the different builds over here and we'll swap over to another build. But this is something that's very important to mention as well. Next up, there's another recipe that you can actually use. It's called the Skill of Nilfor. So it will require you to get Death's Breath, which is gained by killing elites, as well as Forgotten Souls, which you will get by disenchanting your legendary items. And you can basically craft another piece of a set from a double. So if I have two pieces of, let's say, a boot, and I don't need two copies of the same boot, I can randomly get another legendary piece in that set by using this recipe over here. So it's another way to kind of like farm or get your legendary by just farming another piece of the same set. Remember, it has to be the same set, and you'll get another one. And then another thing is how do you get some of these sets that's required for some of these builds? Because I make, you know, build guides that say like, you know, you need this very specific set. Like you can't get Captain Crimson's to just drop in the game, but you can get the planned Captain Crimson's trimmings. It's easier to get these from Odious collectors, but you can get these as drops, and you just go to the blacksmiths and you just start crafting them. You might need some crafting materials, which you'll be getting from the bounties or the weekly challenge rifts. Another important thing to mention, like if you are trying to climb and do higher tier difficulties, is make sure once you're max level that you spend those Paragon points, as once you reach max level in the game, that doesn't mean that you're still not gaining a power every single time that you level up. So make sure you guys spend those Paragon points. And so another thing is that some builds will require items that aren't obtained through getting them through rifts and greater rifts. And in order to get these are special items, the Hellfire Ring and Hellfire Amulet. Now, these aren't really used in like 99% of builds. There are still some builds that use the Hellfire Amulet, but no one uses the ring. The way to get these is by doing the key wardens. You'll eliminate these, they'll drop a key, you can go open it up in Act 1 to do what's called Ubers. Probably end up making like another video in the future that goes over this, but for the most part, it really hasn't changed in the most recent times. They've upped the drop chance, but these are kind of pointless items in the game for the most part for most builds. But the Hellfire Amulet isn't completely worthless. The ring is pretty much worthless, but the Hellfire Amulet, what it does do is it grants you an extra passive. It's a random one. What rolls on it is what rolls on it. You cannot re-roll it, unfortunately, with the Enchantress, but that's the way it works. And then there are also other special items in the game that are only obtained through doing bounties. I already mentioned the Royal Ring of Grandeur. That's like the most popular one, and that's the one most people are trying to look for. But there's also ones that are still used in builds like the Illusory Boots. These are obtained by getting the caches from a very specific act, but pretty much you're going to be doing all the bounties when you do these in a group. Basically, each person takes an act, but this is how you get the Illusory Boots. They're from the Act for Horadric caches. And then Pride's Fall is another one that does exist over here, so this one reduces your resource costs. Again, it's another one of those legendary cash drops from the bounties. And then we have the Gloves of Warship. These are going to be obtained, again, the same way those Horadric caches. And then for legendary gems over here, you get all these the exact same way you do greater rifts, with the exception of one gem. One of the gems you can only get a very specific way, but in order to level up your gems as well, you will also be needing to do your greater rifts, make sure that it's above the tier difficulty. There's actually a great website for this called Diablo 3 Gem Calculator, which I'll also link down below. Like I said, there's just so many things that I have to link in this video, so I don't have to make this video like an hour long. I'm trying to condense this to be very fast. Now, I mentioned one of the gems you cannot get from doing the greater rifts, and that is the Boon of the Hoarder. You get this by doing a puzzle ring run with greed. So you put this inside of the Kanais Cube and you hit transmute, it'll warp you to an area and you just kill some goblins. At the very end, there's a boss, you kill him. This is how you get the Boon of the Hoarder. This isn't really like important, but I wanted to go ahead and at least cover it because it is part of getting one of the legendaries, and I want to try to cover up most of them. Now, there are also very specific, like, special event ones, like, for example, Wirts Leg over here. I'll link down below if you guys want to get it, but you can't get it at least at the second of me making this video, as it's tied to an anniversary event. Same thing with the other legendary gem, which is the Red Soul Shard. Both these are completely pointless, though. It's just kind of there as cool. At one point there was a use for this. It was an exploit, but it doesn't exist anymore. They patched it, so it doesn't really matter. But there are also other legendary items like the Staff of Herding, the Spectrum, Horadric Hamburger, that are just more fun Easter egg items, and I'm not going to be covering them in this video, as I do want to make a video going over like Easter egg special legendary items, and I think that would be more interesting, because most of you guys that clicked on this video probably want to know how to get the best legendaries in the game, and it just comes down to, again, doing rifts and greater rifts, with the exception of, again, some of the things that I showed you guys with, like, you know, the special Gloves of Warship, or the Royal Ring of Grandeur. You're going to need to do bounties, or with the Captain set, or a guild set, some of these ones that you will need to be crafting from the blacksmith will only be obtained after you get the plans. But there, we just got a primal over there. But yeah, I gotta do a GR70 solo to get a primal. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. And if you guys want to be up to date on more Diablo stuff, as seasons change, there's going to be new items and stuff in the future. Make sure you guys subscribe with the bell notification on, and you'll definitely see more. But take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. And let me know if you have any questions down below, and I'm out. Peace.